and I'm very thankful that he was able to free himself and give us the evening. So please, if you have any questions, bring it in. And we're going to start right now.
I know this is a long day for all of you, so I'm going to, there's just a few more slides that I'll go through and then we can start doing some questions. But I want to tell you, a lot of times we have children from very wealthy parents, and a lot of the kids who are spoiled, what we say are spoiled or overindulged, a lot of times they struggle the most in life. And many of us who came from, Egypt, or who have worked hard, or people who became very successful, the reason they became so successful was because they did not get everything so easy. And getting everything so easy actually affects the addiction pathways in the brain. And so don't always try to make life for your children in service or at home easy. And I'll tell you this, in regards to responsible children, there's many temptations: drugs, pornography, premarital sex, alcohol. All of this is thrown at our children every day. And the statistics on teen depression and suicide bear out the seriousness of the parental task. We have a big task as parents and servants. And the way the children handle these pressures, these intense pressures, and the choices they will make when faced with some of these are very life and death situations. I want to tell you, there's a story of a gentleman, his name is James. When he was younger, he asked his parents to use the car to go to a party. This party was a very big party that was happening, and everyone was going to be there. And his parents were both busy, so they told him, you know what, sorry, we cannot drive you. Why don't you go with somebody else? And they told him a friend of his that can drive him. Now this teenager knew that this friend started, drinking at parties and driving. And he didn't tell his parents why, but he learned from a young age self-control, and he learned what no means. And he told his parents, you know what, I'm not going at all. And his parents were shocked. How come he's saying no? And this child made his own decision, this teenager, that I'm not going to risk my life, this is impulsive, this is a bad decision. And he refused to go. And actually that night, his friend that he was supposed to go with drank, and he drove, and he got into a car accident, and everybody he was in the car with him was seriously injured. And he drove himself off a mountain. So this gentleman, he actually now writes books on parenting, because he recognized it was his parenting techniques that saved his life. And he wanted to teach other parents to do the same thing. And so it's something that, these choices is something that is learned. So do not deprive your children of these learning opportunities. Failure and success are two sides of the coin. If there had been no forbidden tree in the Garden of Eden, humanity would have no opportunity to make responsible and irresponsible choices. So that's why failure and success are on two sides of the coin. Adam and Eve knew the wrong choice, and they suffered natural consequences. And sometimes we also must allow our kids to suffer these natural consequences. Obviously, using age-appropriate lessons. So do not take away choices if they can come at an affordable price. And even if a mistake is at an affordable price, let them make the mistake, fall, and then they will get back up. Because usually you'll remember, the most things you will remember is the things that you made the ones you made wrong. If you made a poor decision, you'll remember it all your life. So sometimes these decisions help us make better decisions. So for example, let's say you have a child who doesn't want to wear a coat outside and it's cold. It's 20 degrees. And you can give him a range of choices from worst to best. If you allow failure, it winds up with the kids who tend to choose success, because now they learn this lesson by themselves. So little children can make small mistakes at an affordable price. They can pick themselves up and try again. Do not confuse love, protection, and caring. Remember, responsibility is not something that's taught, but it's something that's caught. They learn responsibility. It's not taught, but it's caught. And kids who grow in responsibility also grow in self-esteem, because now they know I can make my own decision, and I can make good decision. And I made this bad decision before, and it led me to a problem. And I don't want to repeat that mistake. And so a lot of times, that child who did not wear a coat, and you could say something like, well, you know what, I'm glad I wore my coat today, and let him go out in the cold. And then you'll see him freezing in the back, and shivering, and then you say, oh, I'm glad I wore my coat today, Eventually, I know kids are stubborn, but eventually sometimes they're stubborn because we don't give them choices. But when you give them the choice and they realize, I should have wore a coat, next time they will get it by themselves. You won't have to tell them, go get a coat. They'll say, no, I'm going to get it right up. I'm going to keep it with me. The other thing I'm briefly going to touch on is overt and covert message. Overt is what you say. Covert is what they hear. So sometimes what you say is not what they hear. What is that? For example, if you tell your kids, when you tell one of your kids, I will let you decide that for yourself. Okay? The overt message that you're sending is you can decide. It also means you are capable. This is the way the child interprets it. I am capable. If you say, I'm going to give you one more chance, but you better shape up. That's what you say. What does the child understand? He hears things better improve, and if you can't handle it, I have to provide you with another chance. So this is what the child sees. I need another chance. Or I can't handle it because of the message that you sent. If you say, why in the world did you do that, Mina? The overt message is a simple question, but the way the child understands it is, I'm foolish. So if you say, don't go out without your coat today, Sharif, the overt message is a simple reminder, but he might understand it like you're not capable of thinking yourself. You need someone to tell you what to do. So remember the way, the messages we send. So it's so important how a child will feel. And if a child goes in the mindset that I can learn a lot, school is not hard, hard is very, not so hard. I may not be able to learn anything, I'll have a hard time making friends. These are the wrong ways of thinking, and we need to teach them to think correctly and challenge those negative thoughts like we mentioned. The other thing is how we react. So here's a story. For example, John was sweeping the dad was sweeping the garage. John, his son, came and he grabs a small broom and he starts sweeping like his dad. The way the dad responds is so important. Because this child, what he's doing is he's sending you a message. He's saying, I'm learning how to use a broom, and I hope my dad notices me using the broom and gives me praise. Now, the way the dad responds is going to affect this child's self-esteem drastically. Now, let's look at the way he can respond. He can say, the dad can say, look at all these spots the little child is missing. He's not doing a good job, it's horrible. And he can say it with his voice and body language showing he's disapproving of what his son is doing. And he might say, look at the mess you've made. Go and play and leave me here. Let me finish this. That message is you're not capable. You're not good. And he's going to be discouraged, and it's going to lead him to have a very poor self-concept of himself. So the quality of learning improves with practice, encouragement, and modeling. Now, if this dad comes and says, you really know how to sweep. You're doing a great job. Isn't it fun to do this? Now the child's concept is going to completely be different. And he can say, watch how I do it to the child. And look at how we can get all the dirt off. So we teach them now a great combination of things. How to get the job done, how to enjoy doing the job, and how to not pass judgment. And rather say, I can see you're working hard to learn, how to do this. And so this is the attitude we need to have as parents and servants. And I know sometimes it requires patience. I see you're learning how to make the bed like your mom. Would you like me to show you how to remove the wrinkles on the bed sheet? We want to say to the child, I have been allowed to make decisions about things that affect me, so they can say to themselves, I am capable of taking control of my life, I can make decisions, and I'm strong enough to live with both good and bad consequences of my decision. So again, avoid the messages of telling them what to do. A lot of times we say, go to sleep right this minute. This kind of sends the message that you're not capable, and I am the one who will tell you how to do everything. Again, we talked about affordable choices. Make sure the choice that you're letting them have is affordable. You're okay to deal with the consequences of the mistake. The last thing is I'm going to talk about praise versus encouragement. Praise is a remark on the performance of a task in relation to the child's abilities, goodness, and express adults' evaluation of a child. Foster fixed mindset and realize on the other for self-worth. Very different than encouragement. For example, you're so smart is a praise. Encouragement is, wow, you must work really hard. Praise is, your animals are perfect, that he's drawing. I love your drawing. It's very different than you spent a lot of time working on this paper. I saw where you were looking at the animal book to help you. This really worked. Good job with your shoes versus you are learning to put on your shoes last week. You had trouble getting them on, but this time you did it without any problems. So there's a very big difference between praise and encouragement. Or I'm so proud of you versus you should be proud of the work you did. So we really want to focus on this encouragement, and we want to focus on not giving fake praise. A lot of times we just want to give them praise, like, oh, you're doing great. But it's not true, and the kids know. They know that you're giving them fake praise. Some people think, I need to praise, even if they do a bad job, I'm still going to praise them. Don't do that. It's okay, be honest with them. They are not dumb. Children are extremely intelligent. So there was actually a father who was in a park, and he was watching his son fly a model plane. And every single time the plane kept crashing, and the father kept saying, good job, great flight. فطبعا this child's expression is my dad blind? Like, are you serious? Is he lying? Obviously I'm not doing a good job. Why is he saying that I am? Does dad think I need his response? I need him to tell me this? And again, you're not in a position to judge the goodness, but rather to provide encouragement. That's your goal, to provide encouragement. Don't be the judge. Be someone who gives encouragement. Positive self-esteem comes from accomplishment. So the goal is for our kids to believe in themselves as capable human beings, and this comes from accomplishing difficult things, not having things done for them, or being repeatedly told that they are great. So again, let's build self-esteem. Let the kids take risks to try to do something they think they can't. I know it's hard. Sometimes I see my child struggling to take off his clothes, 2 years old. I can easily go and do it for him. And it hurts me to see him struggling so much. But sometimes I look back and I say, no, let him learn. There's an opportunity. So I walk back and I don't intervene. So sometimes we have to look for these opportunities and say, okay, let's not intervene. They get the opportunity to reflect back. And actually, when I did that, he finally took it off. Even it took 30 seconds, it felt like 1 hour to me. But when he finally took off his shirt, he was so proud of himself, jumping up and down. I did it. And I was going to take that away from him if I intervened. Do you see the patience and how we have to think a little bit? So self-esteem is them working hard and accomplishing good things. It's not just giving them empty praise. There's no amount of empty praise that will raise their self-esteem or their self-image. Believe it or not, kids do not feel good about themselves when we do things for them. They don't feel good. We can keep them happy or give them everything they want. They actually want to sweat a little and earn things. Kids want that. It's a need for them to struggle and sweat and earn something. Also, if you let them risk accomplishing difficult things, it means they might as well as easily fail as to succeed. So show them love, whether they succeed or not, and provide them with support and encouragement by the end. By letting children work their way through age-appropriate tough times when they're younger, you are preparing them to effectively face truly tough times down the road as they get older. Use common sense. Obviously, do not let them struggle when things are far beyond their abilities. Yani, I'm not going to let a child do something, like do a puzzle that they can't do. Yani, that's not very helpful. So use your judgment. And use appropriate activities, and do not artificially create a difficult situation for them. Glory be to God forever, amen. And if you guys have any questions, we can answer some questions. I know it's been a long day for you guys, and then let you guys go. Yes?
I have a question about ADHD. Do you think that it's become more common, or do you think it's just more overdiagnosed? That's my first question. The second question was regarding gender differences. So like, do we find it more in boys than girls? So is our expectation of boys like too high in terms of the way that they control their behavior?
Yes, so regarding the first question, yes, ADHD is becoming more prevalent. And why? Because social media has such a negative impact on the brain that it causes symptoms of ADHD. That's why before the social media, there wasn't that many cases. Now, everyone is going to say, I have ADHD. And I think what I've heard from a lot of the people, their questions, is we cannot control social media. And again, that's where I say the children are becoming too powerful over the parents. We have to instill rules. You know, we have the Academy of Pediatrics that tell us what the rules are, when is it harmful. We need to take away their devices, we need to give them timers, and no tantrums should cause you to give in. And I think that acquired ADHD is the reason why we see so much. And there's a book called Disconnected. He's also a psychologist, PhD. He spoke at some churches about social media. You can find his lectures on YouTube, and you can get his book. It's called Disconnected. And it talks to you about all the problems with social media, because this is a huge issue that we're going to be dealing with.
So that means ADHD is not something that we're born with?
No, I'm saying it can be both. So we are seeing a lot more because a lot of it is acquired. So it's some of it is you're born with it, some of it you acquire it.
And then the additional problem is that they're given drugs to fix something that wasn't caused by.
Yes, so you have to be very careful with medicating them, obviously. You know, we want to use behavioral techniques as much as possible. But sometimes it's not true ADHD. And for you to diagnose ADHD, you need to have this problem in multiple settings. And a lot of times they will give questionnaires to the teacher to fill out before the doctor prescribes something like this. But again, if someone is really needing it and it's very helpful, that's a different story.
I want to clarify, it's not only social media, but videos, YouTube videos.
Yeah, and it's screen time, yes.
Cartoon, it's not just like on Facebook or TikTok.
No, yes. Because imagine, we don't know how to be bored anymore. Anytime you're bored, you're going to grab your phone. Anytime. And the dopamine gets released as you swipe. You know, and they know what you're watching, they know what's going to keep you longer. So they put the ad that they need to put to keep you on your phone for longer, because that to them is more money. So that's their goal, is how can I keep this child? And that's why there's lawsuits against them, because they're using social media to influence children's brains and to brainwash them and to keep them on social media for long periods of time. And we as parents need to be aware of that. And they're vulnerable, these children. They're very young. They cannot make these decisions. And that's why some, actually, not even Egyptian, they don't even give their kids smartphones. And they're teenagers. And they have phones without apps on them now. And there's so many things we can do. And the book Disconnected will tell you what some of these psychologists recommend and what kind of devices they give their children. Now you go to a restaurant and they have screens, and then everybody else is on their screen. How much family time is actually happening? No one is talking to anyone. In the car, they're on their phone. No one's talking. And also, they don't have time to be bored. That's why you're going to hear every child, I'm bored. Yes, because they don't think they are allowed to be bored. It's like, what do you mean, I can't be bored? No, it's okay, you can be bored. And boredom is where you become creative. When do you become creative in your mind? When you have free time to be bored. So,
there's usually a concern or a question that we would ask someone with ADHD, someone who is distracted in the class, whether by being, ADHD or autistic or whatever it is. It's better for them to be separated in a separate class or let them struggle through it with the class, and then the other also develop and learn from the experience as well?
I think that question varies from case to case, and I think it depends on the judgment of how long this problem has occurred. Have they tried interventions? Have the interventions failed? Is there anything we can do to accommodate? So I will say it's case by case, I think.
How could you investigate type of issue like ADHD and learning disability or dyslexia at the same time, or short memory?
Yeah, so they can have them together or they can have them separate, and they both need to be investigated separately.
But if we have a child have both, you know, ADHD
Yes, so he needs to get treatment for both, for the dyslexia and
as a servant here, how we deal with that child is not here, but his brain is not here. He's here, but
yeah, I think again the best thing is how can I get this child involved? You know, it's not just about the lesson. You know, let him sit beside you, let him go get you something, ask him how can I help to make you focus, give him a toy, a fidgety toy. You're now aware that this child's going to struggle, and I know you're struggling, and I feel your pain. Come on, if it gets out of control, maybe he needs treatment, yeah, maybe they need therapy or medications, and so we have to let the parents know, and we have to get him evaluated if he really needs to, because again, if someone gets medication and does really good, then that's great. Why not? And if something's really helpful, why are we not taking advantage? And maybe the child will say, I feel so much better. I can actually focus. If there is a problem that we can solve, let's do it without the stigma. If you have high blood pressure, you're going to go to the doctor and take blood pressure medicine. If you have a certain type of diabetes, you're not going to say, oh, just get rid of it. Oh, just stop having diabetes. Oh, just stop having high blood pressure. How do I stop having high blood pressure? It's the same idea. Taban, we can have maybe behavioral modifications. Like you might go to a doctor and he says your blood pressure is high. We don't need medicine, but how about you run, try to lose some weight, try to decrease your salt intake, and let's see if we can control your blood pressure that way. But if we can't, we might have to add a diuretic, a medicine to help you pee out some of the fluids so that you can be healthy. Same thing. Mental illness is the same. It's a disease that requires intervention. Sorry.
Same point. What if we do one-to-one lesson? I take him, I start to give him the lesson by himself. Is this gonna be helpful, or if he in the middle of the class and try to ask him more questions, gonna be make him more involved? Which way?
Yeah, so sometimes if you feel like we said, his ability to absorb the lesson is very low, and you know that. So you can sit with him after and say, what did you think of this lesson? Or you can even find out what he likes. He likes basketball. What's your favorite basketball player? You can use that to help him focus. You know, put this in your lesson with him alone and check in with him every once in a while. You know, did you hear that? Do you want me to repeat it? Did you miss it? You know, do you understand what it means? Do you want me to try to explain it to you in a different way? Those are all things you can say to help.
But one-to-one is the best.
Yeah, you can. Yeah, one-to-one. Yeah, sorry, I'll do it.
What's your take on like kids that react differently in different environments? Like we have a lot of kids that like they're great in school, they're great at home, but they come here and they misbehave, they want to get in fights, you can't even get through the lesson without them interrupting. But like you talk to their mom about it, they're like, oh, yeah, it's so big, and like he's always doing so great at school. And I get that a lot of times it's like whether they have that like built rapport or like that bond with you. But we, as you said, like we have a limited time of like being with these kids for like a few hours a week versus like being in school or being at home.
Yeah, so if it's just happening here, maybe finding out a little bit more about why here with this child. I think we can have an honest conversation with the child as well, depending on what age they are. We can get their input as well. Is this not interesting for you? How can we make it more interesting? Sounds like you're really smart, you do really good. Here you're struggling, maybe understanding a little bit more of why here he's not doing very well. And I think again we have to have this mindset of being a little bit more open with our lessons. Like, it's not just shoving lessons down their throat. Maybe we have to think outside the box, come up with more creative ways, interactive ways. Maybe he'll do much better if we're more interactive. So we can pick up signals and write it down and say, okay, maybe next time I can try a different approach to help, and especially because I know he's doing good outside. As well.
So, a lot of the points that you brought up, it needs a lot of consistency in dealing with children, right? But what if, from a parent point of view, you also have ADD or ADHD? How then can you instill consistency with dealing with that, like with bringing up a child, and you yourself are suffering from it?
I think if you have ADD, I think now the good thing is you have a lot of empathy because you know what this child is going through.
Right.
You know, so this helps because now you look at, you're not judging the child so much as understanding I have the same struggles you are. And I think there's nothing wrong with admitting that we're both struggling in this and teaching him what worked for you. Like telling him.
Like, how can you build consistency? That's the
Tell me more about what you mean by consistency. Like,
because like everything that you, like all the points that we brought up, that have been brought up, you need consistency and like being positive, saying encouraging things, you know? When you're ADHD and you have like parents themselves, sometimes they have that impulsivity in being like, you know, negative, or they were brought up that way. Because that's kind of our culture too, is that we're ourselves brought up this way. So it's like, how can we instill the consistency, raising the child in the correct way, and you yourself are suffering from it?
yeah, so I think if your symptoms are affecting you and it's affecting your relationship with the child because you have these problems and not able to provide the same consistencies, maybe you need to take care of yourself first, you know, before you take care of the child. So it might be, if these ADHD symptoms are really affecting me, am I getting the help that I need? Am I doing what I need to do? Am I seeing, you know, maybe seeing a physician or a professional to discuss how serious the symptoms
It's not
are?
kind of thing, like, it wouldn't be affecting the child in a negative, like, it'd be up and down, like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's like you start out good, but then like, as ADHD, as you said, they don't continue, like, they're not consistent, like, they stop halfway, or they forget, or they get so busy, it's like, going back and forth, is that?
Yeah, I think, like I said, trying your best to, because now if you're aware of the problem, and that will help minimize the issue, and also getting, if you get help and if you improve with therapy or with, maybe there's a need for a medicine that can help you do really, really well, that can help you with parenting or with service with your children, I think is also a rational response. Is that tell me.
It's because like, sometimes I'll contact parents that they themselves are ADHD, you know? Because I studied in the school, so I know what ADHD looks like as well. So when talking to the parents, if they themselves have ADHD, it's hard to go back and like, they don't know that they have it. You know what I mean? So they're struggling.
Yes,
they're
yes.
struggling.
I got you.
Parents, they're struggling, and then they're not consistent as well.
Yes.
So they'll say, oh yeah, I do this, but then I don't do it. But then I try, but then I can't. So it's like, what kind of advice can I give to them?
Yeah. Did you ever tell them to get to?
They're in denial.
They're in
because of
denial.
the stigma that, you know,
Yeah.
that we're in.
I think there's only so much you can do as a servant. And I think also recognize, like, stepping out of this judgmental picture. I think if we remove that stigma, it'll be a lot easier. And if we try as much as you can to show love and to show, no matter what the problem is, we all have the same goal. We all want to be successful. We all want to help our kids, and we all want to do good. We all want better health for ourselves. And so sometimes I don't know if it is, but maybe you can go and ask, maybe get an evaluation. What's the harm to get an evaluation or to meet somebody that might be able to tell you? I know it's easy, it's hard for them to take it. We can try to say it in the best way we can, use the best approach. Hopefully, they take it well.
This question is about autism. So if you have an autistic kid who clearly does not like stinging or does not like to be hugged, do you try to encourage them or you respect them and leave them be?
You can use a mix of both depending on the scenario, but a lot of times if it's something they need to do, then you can use the positive reinforcement. like encouraging that behavior by giving him something, by rewarding him. If it's something that's going to do no harm, then you can let it go.
I think a lot of times we struggle with, like, we know a kid has an issue, like, has an ADHD, has autism, whatever the case may be, but we aren't able to talk about it with parents. And anytime we speak to a coordinator or a priest, they're like, oh, that's, the kid's family, we don't bring up any issues the kids have, because that might be a way what she can do with the church. And then we're in this struggle, like, trying to keep up with our classes, or even bringing it out to the parents.
And I think it varies on how serious the situation is, because we don't want to approach for everything. But at the same time, if it's something really, really serious that we need everyone to be involved, again, going in with that loving approach of I want to help you, you want to help me, and we want to help him, and we're all in this together. I think will help them take it in a more positive way. Thank
And
you.
I want to thank if everyone give him a round of applause.
I know Freddy is very, very busy, and for him to designate a day like this, it truly means a lot to us. Yeah, Freddy, I can't promise this is gonna be it. It's definitely gonna be using the connection, but truly thankful for this. There's been a lot of questions, and as you can see, there's a lot of interest and a lot of questions that always come in around this topic. So it's very good to have someone who's expert in the field to be able to guide us through. Thank you. George reads my mind. That's something we developed. So